What if I told you there's a legendary island floating high above the clouds? Let's find out if it really exists, so let's recap everything from One Piece Sky Island Saga. The journey continues when a giant ship suddenly falls from the sky. The log pose suddenly points straight up, and Robin explains it's being pulled by a powerful magnetic field from a sky island. Exploring the sunken ship, they find an old map of a place called Skypiea. Through books and a skull, they learn the ship is the St. Brice, which left the Kingdom of Breeze in South Blue 208 years ago. Curious, the crew decides to salvage it. While salvaging, they encounter pirates led by Masira, who claims that all sunken ships belong to him. As he raises the ship, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji attack his crew underwater. Masira comes down to stop them, but a giant sea turtle swallows the ship. Everyone escapes, but suddenly the sky darkens and 3 huge shadows appear. Scared, the pirates flee. Robin takes an eternal pose to the nearby island of Jaya to gather more information. Elsewhere, the pirate Roshio wins a poker game against Bellamy, who accuses him of cheating. Bellamy stabs Roshio's hand and shoots him. In Mocktown, Nami warns Luffy and Zoro that they must not fight, no matter what happens. They meet several strange pirates and end up at a hotel. There, Sarquis of the Bellamy Pirates insults them and gives them money for new clothes. They leave, and the Bellamy Pirates see Luffy's bounty. In a bar, they unknowingly meet Blackbeard. Bellamy then barges in, looking for Luffy and wanting to test him. Bellamy punches Luffy, and Nami asks about Sky Island, but Bellamy mocks them, claiming that chasing dreams like gold or the One Piece is meaningless compared to real power. Nami tells them to fight back, but Luffy tells Zoro they're not going to fight. Bellamy attacks Luffy and Zoro, and others throw objects, but the crew doesn't fight back. They are laughed out of the bar and later meet Blackbeard again, who praises them for not wasting energy on the unworthy, and openly supports Luffy's dreams. Back on the ship, Robin has found useful information. A man named Mont Blanc Cricket may know how to reach Sky Island. On the way, they encounter Shu, an orangutan pirate and Masira's brother, but escape. At Cricket's empty home, they find a book about Mont Blanc Noland, Liar Noland. Sanji explains it's a fairy tale from North Blue. Noland discovered a city of gold, told the king, but when they returned, the city was gone. The king executed Noland for lying, though he claimed the island sank. Cricket, a descendant of Noland, searches the ocean daily for proof, even injuring himself. Chopper treats him, and the crew meets Masira and Shuju again, who help Cricket as the Saruyama Alliance. Cricket explains the only way to reach Sky Island is via Knockup Stream, a giant ocean geyser. He sends the Straw Hats to find a Southbird, which always points south. Meanwhile, the Suriyama Alliance upgrades the Going Merry to survive Knockup Stream. Hearing Cricket found gold, Bellamy attacks him and his team, severely injuring them using his spring-like devil fruit powers. When the crew returns with the Southbird, Luffy decides to reclaim the gold. In Mocktown, new bounties arrive. Luffy has 100 million, Zoro 60 million, while Bellamy only 55 million. Bellamy dismisses them as fake. Luffy challenges Bellamy to return the gold. Bellamy attacks using his devil fruit, but Luffy doesn't fight back at first, letting Bellamy use his ultimate move, Spring Hopper. Finally, Luffy loses patience and knocks Bellamy out with a single punch. The terrified pirates realize Luffy's bounty is real and flee. Luffy takes the gold back to Cricket's house while the remaining Bellamy pirates are too scared to fight. Hearing about Luffy's bounty, Blackbeard and his crew plan to strike. Elsewhere, Ace boards Buggy's ship to help search for Luffy. Shanks tries to contact Whitebeard, but his letter is torn up. Whitebeard tells Rockstar to bring Shanks to him in person. Shanks orders his crew to prepare for the meeting. At Mary Joyce, the Marines and the 7 warlords gather to discuss replacing Crocodile. Fleet Admiral Sengoku is surprised to see Kuma and Doflamingo there. Mihawk also arrives, and just as the meeting begins, Lafitte from the Blackbeard Pirates shows up to recommend his captain as Crocodile's replacement. No one has heard of him yet, but Lafitte says they are working on it. Back at the Straw Hats, they return Cricket's gold and head for Knockup Stream, guided by the Suriyama Alliance and the Southbird. They are confronted by Blackbeard pirates, showing their new bounties. But before a fight starts, the Straw Hats are swept into Knockup Stream, sent flying into the White Sea, while the Blackbeard pirates' raft is destroyed. Riding the stream, the Straw Hats reach Skypiea, a sea of clouds. They are attacked by a masked man on the clouds, but are saved by an old knight, Ganfall, riding a bird named Pierre. Ganfall explains the thin air made them weak, gives them a whistle for help, and the crew continues. They arrive at Heaven's Gate, the entrance to Skypiea, where a fee of 1 billion extols per person is demanded. The crew doesn't know the currency, and the gatekeeper, Amazon, warns them nothing. They enter Skypiea and reach Angel Island, meeting Canis and her father, Pagaya. Nami tests a device called a Waver and rides to a nearby forested island called Upper Yard, a forbidden sacred ground. Luffy wants to follow her, claiming it's for adventure. At Upper Yard, Nami sees Enel's priest chasing a treasure hunter, but Enel instantly destroys him with a massive lightning beam. Nami realizes the priests are tracking her and rushes back. On Angel Island's beach, the crew meets the White Berets, Skypiea's law enforcers, who declare the Straw Hats criminals. The fee for illegal entry is 10 billion extols per person, and minor actions like snoring raise their crime level. When Nami returns, she crashes the waiver into McKinley, the chief, and the White Berets attack but are easily defeated by Luffy. This escalates the crew to Class 2 criminals, to be handled by the priests. The crew prepares to leave with Nami, Chopper, Robin, and Zoro boarding the ship, while Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp gather supplies. Suddenly, the ship is grabbed by a super-fast shrimp, carrying them to Upper Yard. Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp head to Lovely Street to get a boat to rescue them. Connis lends them her dial-powered ship. Luffy asks why he has been trembling since leaving the house, and she reveals she did everything according to God Enel's will. Enel fires a massive beam at Connis, but Ganfall saves her, taking them out of Enel's range. Despite Enel's show of power, the three pirates continue to Upper Yard without trouble. Meanwhile, Nami, Zoro, Robin, and Chopper are on the ship above a sacrificial altar surrounded by shark-infested clouds. Zoro, Robin, and Nami decide to explore Upper Yard, swinging to land using vines while Chopper stays to guard the ship. They cautiously navigate the Milky Road, a winding path of cloud currents filled with hidden dangers and shifting obstacles, forcing the crew to constantly adapt and work together. They reach a hand-shaped statue with 4 paths: Ordeal of Swamp, Iron, String, and Balls. Luffy chooses the Ordeal of Balls, landing in a forest with floating cloud balls containing snakes, explosives, flowers, and other surprises. The priest Satori appears and attacks, using Mantra, a strange power that lets him sense and predict his enemies' moves. Luffy and the others struggle to anticipate his sudden strikes, realizing that Satori can almost read their intentions before they even act, making each dodge a desperate gamble. After a tough battle, the crew is nearly defeated, but they counter his attacks. Luffy grabs Satori and Sanji defeats him with a new move, Konkase. At Gonfal's house, he tells Konis and Pagaya about the ongoing war between the Shandia warriors and the Skypeans over Upper Yard. Enel's takeover ended any hope of peace. Meanwhile, Priest Shura attacks Chopper at the altar. Chopper blows the whistle to call Ganfall, who fights Shura. When Shura uses the Ordeal of String, Ganfall and Chopper fall into the clouds but survive. Zoro's group realizes that Upper Yard is part of the lost city of gold from Noland's tale, sent into the sky by the Knock-Up Stream. Chopper wakes to find Ganfall and Pierre saved by giant southbirds. At the Shandia tribe, Isa reveals that Satori and Ganfall have been defeated. Wiper, Shandia leader, decides to reclaim Upper Yard and fights the remaining priests. When one of his strongest warriors, Kamakuri, is defeated, Wiper orders a retreat. Nami, Zoro, and Robin return to the altar and Luffy's group arrives. The crew camps in the forest to prepare. The Straw Hats piece together that Upper Yard is the lost city of gold. They plan to take treasure before returning to the Blue Sea. Nami combines maps of Jaya and Skypiea to locate the city in the skull's right eye, according to Noland's log. Luffy starts a bonfire to celebrate, much to Nami's annoyance, and the crew dances with wolves in an Eve of Gold festival. Ganfall regains consciousness and explains to Robin that objects from the Blue Sea sent by Knock-Up Stream are highly valuable, especially Varth, soil that grows plants better than clouds. Upper Yard was once a holy land, leading to war with the Shandia. Later, Usopp sees a figure fixing the Going Merry through fog. By morning, all Shura's damage is gone. Nami plans for Luffy, Zoro, Chopper, and Robin to head to the Gold City, while she, Usopp, and Sanji take the Going Merry and Ganfall out of Upper Yard. Meanwhile, Wiper punishes Rocky for a mistake, but Kamakuri stops him. Wiper orders a final offensive to reclaim Upper Yard. Enel appears, telling the priests they may use their ordeals anywhere on the island. As the Shandia and Straw Hats enter Upper Yard, the survival game begins. Luffy's group heads for the Gold City but encounters a giant python, separating them with only Robin on the right path. On the Going Merry, Ganfall explains Upper Yard's history, the Shandia people, Enel's takeover 6 years ago, and demonstrates the use of dials as weapons, including the impact dial. The Shandia encounter Shura and are caught in his Ordeal of String, but Wiper avoids it and defeats Shura using a reject dial, an old version of the impact dial that multiplies power but hurts the user. As the warriors split up, Enel releases his 50 divine soldiers led by Yama, predicting that only 5 participants, including himself, will remain in the survival game. Zoro fights the Shandia warrior Bram and wins with his sons and Sakai. Luffy meets Wiper again, but their fight is interrupted when a giant python swallows Luffy. Chopper defeats Priest Gatatu, who falls into the Blue Sea due to his own ordeal of swamp. Robin defeats Yama at Ancient Ruins. On the Going Merry, Enel confronts Gonfall, shocking Sanji and Usopp unconscious with his devil fruit powers. Satori's brothers, Hotori and Couture, arrive for revenge but are defeated by Nami and Ganfall. Isa, the Shandia girl with mantra, tries to reach Upper Yard in a dial boat but is picked up by Canis and Pagaya. Gonfall leaves the ship to investigate Enel's words, leaving Nami his impact dial. Canis and Pagaya create a shortcut to meet Nami with a new waiver. Meanwhile, Zoro accidentally attracts a Southbird. Inside the Python, Luffy finds gold in ruins but can't find a way out. Enel attacks Kamakiri, accidentally knocking out many warriors. 2 hours into the survival game, only 25 participants remain. Robin reaches the City of Gold but finds no gold. Chopper climbs a giant jack but is wounded by Priest Ohm. On the Going Merry, Nami chases Isa but is attacked by the Python. They escape deeper into the jungle using the waiver. The Southbird carries Zoro through the air but drops him when the Python attacks. Wiper reaches Ganfall, who explains God's shrine is destroyed. Zoro lands and fights Priest Ohm, and defeating him. Nami, Isa, and some soldiers arrive. Ganfall and Pierre save them but are eaten by the Python. The group reunites with Luffy. In the Gold City ruins, Robin meets Enel, who has taken all the gold but is interested in the Golden Bell. At the Going Merry, Enel attacks, leaving Canis to warn Angel Island. Clouds are destroyed, sending Zoro, Wiper, and the Python falling. Ganfall and Nami escape, leaving Luffy, Isa, and Pierre behind. With 3 minutes left, 6 survivors remain. They unanimously choose Enel to leave. Enel explains that humans living in the sky are unnatural, and that he plans to move them to a realm of infinite size, his true natural domain. Ganfall attacks but is defeated, leaving 5 survivors: Luffy, Wiper, Zoro, Robin, and Nami. Enel targets Robin for the Golden Bell. Zoro fights back, and Wiper uses Sea Stone in his reject dial to stop Enel temporarily. But Enel revives himself. He defeats everyone, leaving only Nami, who follows him. Enel escapes on the Arc Maxim, a flying ship powered by the city's gold. Meanwhile, Luffy escapes from the Python and finds Enel's victims. Robin, barely conscious, explains the situation, and Isa uses her mantra to guide Luffy to him. At Angel Beach, Canis tries to convince everyone to leave the island, but is called a heretic. She shouts that Enel is not God, and everyone runs in fear. When nothing happens to her, they realize she is right. The White Berets restore order, and Canis hurries back to Upper Yard to lead the Straw Hats out. Luffy reaches Enel and fights him. Enel is shocked that his lightning has no effect on Luffy, and that Luffy can bypass his Logia powers to hurt him. Enel changes tactics, heating his staff, teleporting, and using mantra to predict Luffy's moves. He uses the Arc Maxim to start Death Paya, forming massive thunderclouds to amplify his power and destroy the islands. Luffy gains the upper hand until Enel attaches a large gold ball to his arm, knocking him back onto Upper Yard. Nami prepares to fight, using Climattack attacks to deflect Enel's weaker bolts. Sanji and Usopp wake up, and Sanji declares he will save Nami. He forces Usopp to help her onto the ship. Usopp distracts Enel, while Nami uses the waiver to jump to the giant jack area, landing a hit. Enel tries to attack them, but Sanji blocks it, allowing their escape. Sanji got knocked out Ajin. The ship begins to explode as Sanji sabotaged its machines, letting the Arc Maxim fly. As Enel fixes the ship, Usopp climbs and jumps off with Sanji. Enel keeps the ship flying with emergency dials and rains, lightning down on the land. In the ruins of Shandor, Luffy recovers and, with Isa and Pierre, heads toward the giant jack. Leaving Isa and Pierre with Robin, who brings the others to the surface, Luffy climbs the giant jack with the gold ball still on his arm. Meanwhile, Wiper, Zoro, and Ganfall wake up, and Nami tells everyone to go to the Going Merry. She uses her waiver to try to reach Luffy and get him to leave as well. Wiper remembers a story from his childhood. 400 years ago, Admiral Mont Blanc Noland caught a huge fish to feed his starving crew and survived a storm, hearing a mysterious bell. On the island, a dying priest claimed the Shandia were cursed and a girl must be offered on the sacrificial altar. Moose volunteered, while her mother wept. Young Sito cursed his fate as Kalgara passed by. Noland's crew reached the shore, found a Southbird whose bell-like sound matched what Noland had heard, signaling the island was inhabited. They found Sato, diagnosed him with tree fever, and gathered Konine to heal him and the village. At the sacrificial altar, Moose was tied up as a priest prayed. A giant snake, Kashigami, approached, but Noland jumped in, climbed the altar, and killed it, comforting Moose. Villagers were furious and demanded punishment. Kalgara attacked Noland, who introduced himself as a North Sea explorer and defended progress. Calgara speared Noland, holding his crew hostage, insisting all intruders be killed. Noland argued sacrifices were wrong and promised to lift the curse if villagers swore never to offer humans again. The Shandia chief gave him 1 day to prove it. His crew and Moose worried in cages, while Sato recovered, pondering Noland's words about progress. In the forest, Noland celebrated finding a Kona tree. An earthquake frightened villagers, and Calgara mocked Noland for being trapped. Villagers, angry over the quake and Kashigami's death, tried to execute Noland's crew, but Sato stopped them. At sunset, Moose and the crew were led to the altar. Noland confronted Calgara about human sacrifices. A python appeared. Noland revealed he had a cure for tree fever, shaming Calgara for risking the village. The python attacked Noland but was killed by Calgara, who asked if the village could be saved. Noland's crew gave the cure, delighting the villagers. Calgara reunited with Moose and Noland recovered. Later, they met Kashigami's grandson, a smaller python. Noland and Calgara bonded, and the crew admired their cooperation. Calgara led them to Shandora. In the Golden City, villagers rang the bell. The crew could take treasure, but Calgara explained the real treasures were a poneglyph and the golden bell honoring ancestors. Noland admired the bell he heard during the storm. The crew shared knowledge and seeds, but villagers still distrusted them, calling them killers of gods. On the beach, the bell was silent. Noland planned more work and went to confront Calgara, who angrily attacked him. The crew sat by a campfire, upset the villagers turned against them. Moose explained the crew cut sacred trees, angering villagers despite helping them. The next day, Noland learned of the villagers' anger and decided to leave the treasure. Moose pleaded with Calgara to forgive Noland, explaining their actions were to save the village. Villagers were stunned. Calgara ran to the beach, seeking forgiveness. As Noland's crew left, the golden bell rang again. Villagers and Sato cried, and Calgara and Noland wept, promising to meet again. Back in Loveneel, Noland told the king his story. 5 years later, the king sent an army to Shandora. Meanwhile, Calgara and a grown Sato kept the bell ritual. The island rose from the knock-up stream. Noland, the king, and the army arrived to find destruction. Execution loomed, but his crew defended him. The Shandia village launched skyward, the golden bell rang, and the sky people declared it holy. Calgara fought to protect the village, always hoping to reunite with Noland. In the present, Luffy climbs the giant jack and meets Nami. She tells him to leave, but he says he must ring the bell so Cricket and everyone will know the city of gold is in the sky. Enel reaches the top and uses his ultimate technique, Reigo, destroying Angel Island and making a huge hole in the clouds. At the Golden Bell, he creates an even bigger Reigo to destroy all of Skypiea. Nami sees everyone is still near the giant jack, so she sends instructions to cut it down. Despite Zoro's efforts, it stays standing. Hearing why Luffy wants to ring the bell, Wiper uses his reject dial to fell the plant. Nami and Luffy blast it with full power, flying toward Enel. Luffy pushes Nami onto a cloud and swings into the Reigo. As the Skypeans and Shandia pray for the true god, using the golden ball, Luffy draws all the electricity from Reigo into himself and completely destroys it. Even as Enel uses all his power, Luffy crashes Enel into the bell, ringing it across the islands. The resonant sound echoes through Skypiea, signaling hope and the end of the long-standing war between the Skypeans and the Shandia, and moving even the most hardened warriors to tears. On Jaya, Cricket, and the Suriyama Alliance hear it. Cricket explains the giants at the start were actually shadows cast by people in the sky, confirmed by a giant shadow of Luffy in a victorious pose. Cricket cries, relieved the city existed and that Luffy is safe. For the Skypeans, the ringing of the golden bell signals the end of the long war between the Shandia and the Skypeans. Enel, his arc, and the bell fall into the sea clouds. Upper Yard clears and everyone gathers. The Shandia warriors recover, Pagaya is alive, and those forced to build Arc Maxim are reunited with their families. Wiper wakes and wants to fight the Sky People for Upper Yard, but the chief explains peace is the priority. Wiper sees everyone celebrating. Enel recovers and flies away toward the Fairy of Earth, which is actually the moon, leaving the Skypeans to keep their land. The bell is found in the fallen giant jack, and the Shandia and Skypeans work together to lift it, showing their unity. On the bell's base is a poneglyph. Robin deciphers the poneglyph, learning information about the ancient weapon Poseidon. The Shandia no longer need to protect it or fight. Robin also finds another message from Gold D. Roger, revealing the Rio poneglyph is on Laugh-Tale. The Shandia thank the Straw Hats by offering one of the Belfry's pillars, which Robin accepts. Usopp trades rubber bands, claiming they match the material that defeated Enel. The Sky Island Saga ends with the Straw Hats stealing bags of gold from the sleeping snake. Seeing Robin with the pillar, the Straw Hats think they've been caught, so they run. With Canis and Pagaya leading, they reach Cloud End to return to the Blue Sea. Ganfall is restored as the god of Skypiea, and the Straw Hats safely descend back to the Blue Sea with the help of an octopus balloon. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what anime you want to see next.